Hello and welcome. My name is Israel, and in this video we're talking about BI script for Fishbowl Inventory. Earlier this year I provided an up-to-date review of the business intelligence landscape for Fishbowl in 2018. A new topic for us to cover is the BI script module in Fishbowl. This was introduced in about Fishbowl 2018.6, quietly I might add, and it's seen some improvements and changes in 2018.7. I have a little agenda, so I want to show you what BI script can do and learn all about it. Let's get started. So here's our agenda. We're going to talk about what is BI script and show you some examples, why the change and why now, what kind of problems does BI script resolve or solve, and then who can help with BI script, who are the players in this new aspect of problem solving, and when will the current legacy report system in Fishbowl be sunset? Yes, it will be sunset. And then finally, how my firm, Israel Lopez Consulting, can help you. Okay, so what is BI script? BI script is a new report strategy that Fishbowl is putting together as part of their new Fishbowl launch for, I believe, 2019. It's part of the Fishbowl currently, but it changes the way that things are being done in Fishbowl. Instead of using a specific report designer called iReport, reports will now be designed in standard HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If you don't know what those are technologies that the web uses to design web pages, design interaction, and control what happens on the screen. Instead of having an external designer for reports, now the design process happens inside of Fishbowl, and that's actually what BI script is. It's the design tool for reports to test and run them inside of Fishbowl. And then you can also start publishing them in Fishbowl. Currently in this version of Fishbowl, if you have BI script module, that's pretty much the only place you can see those reports, but I do believe that in the next versions of Fishbowl, a BI report module will be available where you can publish reports that you're designing to the greater audience inside your business. And one of the things that it's primarily designed for is to work with the query data that's in Fishbowl. It's less about interacting with particular transactions and particular records and things like that, more like at API level or making changes like that. But for now, it's just about querying data inside of Fishbowl. And the one key bit, and that's what this whole really purpose of this talk is about, is that it's rendering the output and the design and the interaction through an actual browser. And I'll kind of explain what that looks like here in a minute. Okay, before we get too far into this video, let's talk some examples. You can access the BI script module inside the same section in Fishbowl under General, right? If you don't have access to the BI script module, you should log in as admin, and then from there you should go to your user group and add the BI script to your user. Maybe you want to make your own user group that just can access BI scripts. Okay. BI scripts have it's really, remember, this is a design window for Fishbowl, so it's got a lot of things going on. We've got templates, we've got styles, we've got scripts, and we've got pages, right? So if you're a web developer, you're pretty familiar with this kind of terminology. But one of the ideas is that you'll be able to edit and replay and try and go through the cycle of iteration right within Fishbowl. A lot faster, in my opinion, than the iReport process where you have to use an outside program, hit a button to compile, upload those changes to Fishbowl, and then try it out. It could be up to a minute of feedback cycle, whereas in hopefully in BI script, it's more like seconds. Okay. Let's take a look at some of the standard BI scripts that Fishbowl's provided. The first ones that they provided in 2018.6 are really all about charts, and that's kind of cool because the charting solution that was available in iReport honestly wasn't really all that impressive. But now we can start doing things like interact with the screen. Here you see the hover overs. And the technology that this is being used with is primarily all web technologies, all web design, JavaScript, things like that. Some of the other examples that Fishbowl is providing is other types of charts like sales goal charts, so I can start seeing customers and companies start to reimagine their approach to Fishbowl and say, okay, you know what, we can start building our KPIs within Fishbowl. Maybe we don't need outside solutions like Clipfolio or other dashboarding solutions. We'll just build it right inside of Fishbowl. Other options that my company has been taking a look at is other web technologies that allow us to make the interaction and the workflow for reporting just that much easier, right? So here's a report that we developed in our testing, and we really like the ability that we can kind of run through results and sort them ourselves, right? This is all happening in the browser from the report query. There's not a lot of programming involved, but we spent a lot of time figuring out what the best way to handle this. If I wanted to see everything from Andrea, I can use a search here, and then all the results with Andrea in the row will come up. And those that kind of search and pagination and interaction and display concepts that are honestly something you have to bring to yourself. Remember that this is a blank slate, so this is kind of what we reimagined as a new report expectation in Fishbowl. But again, it's entirely dependent upon the skill of the designer and the programmer and the business analyst that helps you get all this data and display it to the screen. Okay. Some other reports that are kind of interesting from an option is maybe the charts. Now we're using here, my company's decided to take a look at the Google Charts solutions that are available now, and we just threw a bunch of charts on the screen to see what it would look like. But you're not stuck using the ones that Fishbowl are using. You can bring in your own charts or your own solutions to that, and hopefully with the Fishbowl data you can have the right look that you want for your company. Now continue on the interaction conversation. There's some other existing technologies out there that allow for user pivoting, right? Meaning you can decide from a user perspective what you want to see as a summary. For example, maybe I want to see my customer names, right? And by default, it shows you, how many sales orders you have by that customer. But instead, maybe I don't want to count, I want to sum. And I want to sum that by the total tax, right? Now, all of a sudden, a process that used to take, running a query in Fishbowl, saving it to Excel, formatting it for Excel, and then creating a pivot from there, that takes minutes. It could take up to 15 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on the report, and you're just battling the output when you really just wanted to know who was the top customer. And maybe you didn't want to pay somebody to go get that answer for you, and you just want to have 30 some odd columns where you can do your own slicing and dicing. That's one of our visions for this, is possibly that you might not need to go to Excel. Maybe the report template design actually includes a lot of this with it, which has a lot of value for our design process, so that we kind of meet all needs at once, so that we don't have to go back and forth to provide more subtotals and things like that. Maybe you can do it yourself and get those answers quickly. More of a tactical approach, if you remember my BI review versus tactical versus strategic. Okay. So yeah, generally that's some of the cool things that are happening in Fishbowl, iReport, BI script. Let's go back to the presentation. So why the change? The change is happening because iReport is end of life, right? iReport, you could technically migrate iReport files to a new editor called Jasper Studio, but Fishbowl has taken the step to say, you know what, let's just try something different and go with a more simple technology. And that simple technology is going to be HTML. And it's predominantly because people think JRXML, which is the format that iReports are built into, is hard. And frankly, HTML is easy. There are millions of people out there in the design and web design and computer industry that know HTML, or can at least pass for understanding it. And frankly, the market has a desire for faster reports. That's that same kind of concept of trying to deal with a tactical need of getting an answer today versus waiting around for a consultant or a team member to be available to build the report that you're looking for. Now, in this kind of renaissance period of Fishbowl, having the data module, BI scripts, and queries and things like that, access to data is really not a problem within Fishbowl, and I frankly really enjoy how Fishbowl's been doing it thus far. Okay. And lastly, to be very honest, every business has a web designer. So if HTML, CSS, and JavaScript was the front of house, so to speak, then they can at least handle that part. And if a customer wants to take over a report after a consultant, there's not going to be a very steep, a very shallow learning curve where it just takes a lot of time to learn how to be productive in iReport. And I've tried to run iReport courses on it, and it's difficult because it does take a lot of time. Okay. So some of the solutions with BIScript, right? We can create table and data reports where people can kind of see a result and just peruse through it, look at it. You can start doing some maybe self-service pivoting, kind of how I'm showing you here. Expect to have more greater user interaction with these reports as the industry or yourselves kind of figure out different ways of interacting with your end user, let's say a manager or a production person, to give them the data that they're looking for, design the interaction that you want. And finally, I'm expecting that a lot of the consultants in this market are going to be creating their own templates, like their own spin on what a report's going to look like. Same with our company. We've hired a person to just focus on BIScript, and we're going to be ready for some big changes in 2019, but expect that there's going to be some variance between different consultants and different solution providers on how things are going to look. So that might be some issues with that. Fishbowl has been really good about keeping interaction pretty much the same in the current legacy report system, but it's expect to have a little more of a Wild West field with people solving the same problems a different way. Okay, so who can really help you with BIScript? Well, first thing, you kind of need to know HTML and the layout language for that. And then you're going to need to know CSS, which is cascaded style sheets, and the styling that allows you to keep a color a certain way, rounded edges, hover over colors, things like that. The kind of the beautification of HTML, you could say. And then the JavaScript programming, right? You need programming to be able to get data from Fishbowl, format it a certain way, display it a certain way, convert it a certain way, tabulate a certain way, convert it from one format to another. We're already experiencing that it's not going to be easy for JavaScript to be used in these report process. It just takes a lot of time and skill to understand everything that's out there. But you also need to know the SQL database, and not just SQL in general, but the SQL database for Fishbowl, right? And knowing where that data is, where that needs to go, why it's useful, and things like that. And not only do you need to know the Fishbowl database, but you need to know how Fishbowl uses it, the business process around picking, packing, and shipping, and what fields are more appropriate for the kind of data that you're looking to report on. And finally, business tribal knowledge, and this is where the customer comes in. We as consultants kind of know everywhere Fishbowl or customers like to put their data, but the tribal knowledge of what a custom field is used for and how a company uses Fishbowl a certain way, we really need that partnership in order to understand what needs to get built and how it needs to get built and what kind of problems it's solving. And that kind of tribal knowledge of any business is very critical in developing a very useful report. So in terms of breaking this up, I would imagine that the first three items, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you're going to expect a lot of support or a lot of people from the web design firm industry be able to provide a lot of that support. They'll go, oh yeah, I know how to solve that problem. I've done that thousands of times. Here's how we make a user interactive, X. But, if you're looking for somebody on the cheap and you're looking for somebody who could throw themselves at this kind of stuff, and they're really willing to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript along the way, then frankly, the joke's been in internal conversations that high school interns, anybody that wants to learn HTML can at least start helping with BIScript solutions. However, depending on time, that kind of person or that kind of firm may need the more internal champion who knows the business, who knows the database and systems like that. That'll be your consultant, your internal champion, whoever's going to be whoever really knows understands Fishbowl really well for that business is going to be providing a lot of that business process tribal knowledge, and we'll be able to provide SQL database expertise to say, okay, here you go, here's how we solve that problem with this data, easy, that kind of thing. Okay. Okay, so when is iReport going to get sunset? So as far as we know, today nothing changes, right? Nothing's going to break. If you're on older versions of Fishbowl 2017, I would honestly recommend upgrading to maybe 2018.6, 2018.7, 2018.8, only so that you start getting some experience with BIScript. It's going to be something that's going to be available pretty soon. You should have some experience with it if you're planning to have Fishbowl for at least 5 more years, right? Legacy reports, or the current report module, will be removed eventually. I don't know. I don't have any privileged knowledge. I only have rumors, and it will get it removed eventually. The iReport system is already end of life. You can't really, even for us as consultants, it takes a little bit of effort to get iReport working on a new computer. So expect that legacy reports to be removed eventually, or some other issue coming up. I don't know, Windows Update, Java, that knocks it out entirely. But software being software, they usually run as long as nothing breaks it. Remember that BIScript is now available. Try to install any version after 2018.7. That way you've got the latest and greatest with BIScript. You should be able to get all the same things that I showed you today about the examples and things like that, and start being able to play with how to get data out of Fishbowl, how to get data on the screen, how to use certain JavaScript libraries. All that is already part of all Fishbowl installations when you upgrade to 2018.7. As I understand, and this is a rumor, new Fishbowl databases, so new companies, will be on BIScript only reports in 2019. So it's not a sunset for everybody else who's currently watching this video, because, well, you probably already had iReport and you're going to have some custom reports designed around it. But that's going to be the next thing, that to transition new companies into BIScript so that they don't know any better. That's all they know. And between this period of transitioning, where the system can be sunset, if you are on BIScript only files, you can reactivate it. That's going to be the plan. For whatever reason, maybe there's a consultant that has to give you this kind of report, and it was a lot easier to develop or deploy a report in that version of a solution, so maybe you have to reactivate and get that going again. There's a couple of things that honestly is still going to be a challenge, and we're going to have to see how Fishbowl handles it, and they kind of show the way of how to solve things for labels and packing slips and things like that are more paper driven than data driven, and we'll see how that works. I want to see how they have a fair shake at reimagining a web-based or web page-based paper document, but that'll remain to see. Okay, and when we do see the sunsetting of iReport, that'll probably happen in sometime past 2020, and expect there be some transition costs. Not everything that can currently be done in iReport has a correct or immediate translation to BIScript. Don't expect that. Don't expect there to be an automatic translation from iReport to BIScript. It's going to take a lot of work, and depending on your company, you're going to want to plan for that. Budget, I'd approximately budget maybe $200 to $300 per report, plus consulting hours to transition reports to BIScript, just for the purpose of reimagining or re-implementing what that is in BIScript. Now, beyond that, we don't expect any more challenges beyond that, but the timing of that, and I'll make a YouTube video on this to kind of announce it. It's like, start budgeting now so that you're not going to have challenges. You're not going to be caught out without the budget to be able to convert things to iReport. And that's what we're going to currently be doing as my company. We're going to be taking a couple of customers and just recommending that they convert to BIScript now before it's required, just to get our feet wet in that conversion process, so that we understand it a bit better, so that we know what the costs are going to be like, so that we're not scrambling whenever the true sunsetting happens. Okay. So how can we help? So we can obviously create new BIScript reports. Obviously this is new for everybody. Don't expect any consultant out there to be perfect and experts in this model, but we are trying. We did My company did hire a BI report developer strictly for this reason, someone that has iReport experience and who's learning HTML, CSS now, and we're providing them with that expertise of the Fishbowl system so that that transition process is something that we can all do. We can also help you convert those JasperReports / iReport solutions to BI script reports. That'll take some time, that'll take some cost, but it'll be a good idea for most companies to start planning that now. And then we can also support an internal designer with SQL queries. Our consultants, our support techs, and myself, we're pretty handy at being able to design SQL or go through our little library of queries and say, here's one you can use. Try it out, see if that supports what kind of solution you're looking for. Especially if you're looking with an intern or something like that that's getting stuck for a whole week doing a report. Don't do that. Help them learn by getting some pretty clear examples of where that data goes, and we can support that through just the queries and do it as a billable retainer, or even provide courses for that kind of stuff. Okay. And we can also consult on business intelligence best practices, right? We can say this is the kind of solution we're looking for, how to advise you. There's certain things that are best in BI script or that are best in ODBC SQL queries, or maybe best in Tableau or Power BI, things like that, depending on the outcome. But HTML, CSS, BI script can really cover the gamut. It really depends on what you're looking for. And finally, since we're more of a technical firm anyway, we're going to be pretty heavily on the tech end of things. So maybe there's some rigorous calculations or solutions or programming that's involved that requires a little more advanced JavaScript programming. We're getting ourselves ready for that, because we do expect that because of the additional interactions that there's going to be a lot more juggling of data and logic and expectations and results, and we're going to be positioning ourselves to be able to provide those solutions a little more competently than we currently can. Okay, and that's it. Thank you for watching this almost 23-minute video, but it's a lot to cover. Couldn't really cover it any other way. I'd like to be continuing to do some more showcase examples, some interesting BI scripts that, depending on the customer, if they allow us to, share it with everybody. But if you have questions or you're wanting to talk to us about a project for your company, please give us a ring over at ilx.io. You can find our phone number there, or leave us an email and we'll get back to you. All right. Thank you and have a good day.